Hola y bienvenidos a un episodio muy especial de mi canal de YouTube Español por Dentro. Friends, we have seen on this channel interviews with many wonderful people from the Hispanic world, but today we have an interesting personality with us. We have a Mexican teacher from France who is going to share with us some typical Mexican slangs and expressions which can be very useful to you when you travel to Mexico. We have with us the Mexican teacher Edson Jiménez. Hola Edson, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, hola Siddharth, hola amigos de Español por Dentro. Yo soy Edson, soy profesor de español en Francia y como Siddharth dice, soy de México. Estoy muy contento de estar aquí con ustedes el día de hoy.
Well, Edson, we are also glad to have you here. And for my public who may not be knowing too much of Spanish, could you tell us a little bit about yourself in English?
Of course, claro que sí. So, as Siddharth told you, my name is Edson Jiménez. I come from Mexico City. I come from the capital of Mexico's country, and I live now in Lyon, France, because here's where I teach Spanish as a foreign language. And well, I studied a master in the teaching of Spanish as a foreign language in the University of Barcelona in Spain. So I'm a little bit like from everywhere.
Oh, wonderful. That's great, Edson. So, Edson is going to share with us some typical Mexican words and Mexican expressions that we are going to use in this video, which will help you understand a little bit of Mexican Spanish. Yeah. So, are we ready, Edson?
Claro que sí.
Listo. Vamos.
Listo.
Okay. So, we're going to start now with the first word which we're going to have in this video, and this word is a word that you would have probably heard a lot if you have interacted with Mexicans or have seen Mexican shows or movies. Yeah, es el verbo platicar. Edson, what is this verb platicar and what does it mean?
Platicar, see, that is what we're doing right now, right? We're chatting, no? We're having a conversation. Platicar es una palabra que utilizamos en México, ¿no? To say that, to chat. And, well, it comes from the word practicar, practice, which was also used before in Spain, but now it's only used in Mexico and some parts of Latin America, right? So, ahora estamos conversando o estamos platicando, ¿no?
Wow,
For
wonderful.
example,
Yeah.
an example that we took from a corpus of Spanish speakers from the Instituto Cervantes or the Real Academia de la Lengua is the following example. Qué bueno que la veo porque tenía muchas ganas de platicar con usted. It's so
Wonderful.
nice to see you because I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to chat with you, right? So whenever you go to Mexico, you can use this word and, well, you will feel like a little bit Mexican already.
Oh, wonderful. So friends, platicar es como hablar o charlar, right, Edson?
Charlar, charlar, exactamente.
Wonderful. The next word is chido or padre. Now, of course, you know padre means father, but what does padre mean in Mexican Spanish, Edson?
Chido y padre are two of the words that I love the most in Spanish because they mean cool, but they are very Mexican. Chido, that means that something is nice, right? That something's cool. Padre as well, right? So you can say that una persona es muy chida, no? Somebody's very cool with you. Somebody is very nice to you. Some people say that this word comes from the Asturian language spoken in Spain, uh, the word chido in Asturian. So we are not sure, but well, now it's a Mexican word, and also the word padre, which
Okay.
means that something is very big, right? Like a father. So, Siddharth tiene un canal de YouTube muy padre. So, Siddharth has a very cool YouTube channel. So, padre y chido son básicas en el español de México.
Ok, y puedes dar un ejemplo, otro ejemplo.
Sí, por ejemplo, un ejemplo también, an example that we also took from the corpus was, al principio se portó bien chido conmigo, hasta me regalaba libros, ¿no? So this is from a book called Adiós a Dylan from, well, by the author Carrillo Rosas. Here I want to, well, podemos platicar of how important is that your students or any Spanish students can go into these resources, the Corpus del Español, to be able to find this kind of examples. Al principio se portó bien chido conmigo, hasta me regalaba libros. That would be, at the beginning, he was very cool with me. He even gave me some books,
Wow.
right? That's the way we would say it in Spanish in Mexico.
And we can also say qué padre o qué chido for saying how cool.
Exactamente, exactamente. Qué padre casa, oye, qué padre auto, ¿no?
Okay.
Qué padre película.
Okay, so qué padre followed by the sustantivo.
Exactamente,
Okay.
exactamente.
So students, please be aware. So when you want to say what a cool house or what a cool movie, yeah. So qué padre followed by that noun in Spanish. Wonderful.
Or qué chido as well.
Okay. Or just qué. Sorry, I didn't get. Or what? Qué?
Or qué chido, but chido we have to adjust it to the number and the gender.
Oh,
Por ejemplo, qué chida casa o qué chidos juguetes, ¿no?
okay.
What the,
Okay.
how would you say that in English, no? Such cool
Yeah.
toys,
Cool
¿no? Qué
choice.
chidos juguetes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So that so chido here becomes an adjective. Yeah.
Exactamente.
Okay. Great. Wonderful. The next word, and this word, I think people who have watched Coco, the movie, would probably understand this wonderful aspect that the Mexicans have of this endearing way of talking, of putting an ito or an ita. So we have a word here called ahorita. So what is ahorita, Edson?
Ahorita is a measurement of time that we use in Mexico that could mean now, right now, or maybe in a moment, or maybe never, right? So it actually means right now, ahorita. But when we say ahorita, which means now, it means that I'm going to do something very soon, but I'm not saying exactly when I'm going to do it, right? So it could mean right now or in a while. For example, one example that we took from the corpus as well, if somebody says, ya acuéstate, Tito. Ya es muy tarde, decía Luisa. And Tito answers, ahorita, like in a moment, or maybe later, or or maybe he doesn't want to go to bed, right? So
Ah,
the translation could be like, go to bed, Tito. It's already late, Luisa said. And Tito answers, ahorita, like, oh, in a moment. I believe that speaks a lot of also about how Mexican and Latin American people think, because I believe it's also cultural feature, if we can say it that way, right? I don't know if that exists in English or that exists in one of the India languages. Does it exist?
well, we'll have to check that out. But yes, we also do have a way of saying in Hindi or even in English, like here in India, that okay, for probably just delaying things a bit, we say okay, yeah, I'll do it right now, yeah, and that right now could be 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes, could be 15 minutes, could be 1 hour.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the way it works. So we
wonderful.
have this word that could mean a lot of things.
Great. So ahorita is the word. And Edson, I would like you to just dwell a little bit on this aspect of the ito and the ita. Can you tell the audience here who may not know that this is a very typical Mexican way of talking, of adding a ito or a ita at the end of a word?
You know, we uh, Latin American people, we are very warm people with our visitors. or with tourists, right? So that's why we always try to make things like a little bit nicer. And
Right.
for us, when we add the ito or ita at the end, it means that you make it like a little bit nicer.
Right.
Or this is a diminutive, right? So it could be something little, but also something that you care about. Like, for example, un café could become un cafecito, like a little coffee, you know? It doesn't mean that it's a small cup of coffee or just a little coffee. It means that it's implied that there's some kind of love inside, you know? Or I don't know what else. For example, un tecito, a little tea, right? Uh, a little cup of tea. That doesn't mean that's little. It means that it's there's like interest
Hmm.
in the way of saying that.
Right.
Huh?
Got it. It doesn't necessarily have to be that the amount of tea is little. It's just a way of saying it, right?
Exactly. It's not about the size or the amount.
Yeah.
It's more about the affection that goes with the object, right?
Right.
For example, I can say mi casita. Mi casita. It doesn't mean that my house is little,
Yeah.
right? It means that there's some affection towards my house, you know?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely wonderful. Now we move to the next word, and this word I find quite interesting. Achincle. Yeah. Achincle.
Achichincle,
Achichincle.
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 Uh-huh.
So what is
So
achichincle, Edson?
Chichincole, well, as you may remember, so before the Europeans arrived to what today we call Mexico, it was populated by Aztec people. They spoke a language called Nahuatl. So many words in Mexico and actually in the whole Spanish world come from Nahuatl, right? Some words that you might know are chocolate, for example, tomate, that comes from the Nahuatl language. So Achitincle comes from this ancient language, I'm sorry, ancient language that exists till today, and it means somebody that helps another one. Something like assistant, you know, like my assistant, mi achichincle, although it could be a little not so kind, you know, it could be like a little despective. But achichincle, that's what it means. No, somebody that helps another person or somebody that works for another person, and that comes from Nahuatl.
Okay.
One of the examples that we have here from a book by Arriaga is al día siguiente, uno de sus achichincles me llevó a la oficina una caja con los escritos. This could be next day, one of his assistants went to my office and took a box with I don't know, with the documents, maybe, right? So that's what we're trying to say. It's like a not so kind way to say assistant. And that's a word used in Spanish.
Oh, wonderful. Interesting. Achichincle. Okay. Now we move to the next word, Edson, and this is apapachar. Yeah.
Mhm.
Am I pronouncing it correctly? Apapachar?
Apapachar, that's perfect. I mean, you sound like a Mexican already.
Wonderful.
Apapachar also comes from Nahuatl,
Okay.
right?
And okay. So it comes from Nahuatl. So, but it sounds like one of those AR ending primer group of verbos. Is it a verb or is it something else?
That's a verb. That's a verb because actually it comes from Nahuatl, but it was adopted by Spanish,
Okay.
right? So it's a verb, and that means listen to this. It's a really nice meaning. It means hugging with your soul,
Mhm.
right? It means that when somebody is maybe sad or somebody needs help from a friend, you can apapachar that person, right? I'm sure that we all have had a moment when we feel like a little bit alone and we need, I don't know, a relative or a friend to come and say, "Hey, everything's going to be all right." That's apapachar, you know. And for example, one of the examples that we have here is Está usted muy flaca. Usted lo que necesita es que la apapachen. That would mean something like, you're very thin, ma'am. So what you need is somebody to hug you, to love you, to take care of you. You see, apapachar, it doesn't mean only hug somebody, but really to take care of someone. So I'm sure that our mothers, they nos apapachan all the time, right? Because that's what moms do.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think that's one of the most beautiful verbs that I have learned today, Edson. And that's the beauty of speaking to people. Like I've been teaching Spanish for more than 18 years, and probably I might have come across this word somewhere in a movie or a series that I watched, but never really knew the meaning. Yeah. So it's wonderful to know this word, apapachar. There's so much emotion in
Apapachan.
this word. It's wonderful. We move to the next word now, Edson, and again, it's another word that starts with a, achicopalarse, achicopalarse. Yeah. Unpack this word a little bit for us, Edson. What does this word mean?
Chicopalarse, that comes also from Nahuatl, right? And it's to be sad. Actually, when somebody se achicopala, or when somebody is achicopalado, what he needs is un apapacho. You know what I mean? It's like, uh, it means to be sad. Sometimes we don't get what we want, or it's a bad moment, and we just feel sad. Nos achicopalamos. So, an example would be, no te achicopales. Le decimos al compadre que se siente deprimido porque tiene problemas con la esposa o con los hijos. That means don't get sad. That's what we say to a friend that feels down or has problems with with his wife or son, right? Or children, I'm sorry. And well, yes, that's what achicopalar means. I believe that's also, we have to know that most of these words are known by the Mexican population, but some of them become to a family register. So what I'm trying to say is that we use it in our family, and sometimes you won't find them like very formal writings or books, or documents, but we use them all the time. And that's why maybe you won't see them like when you read El Quijote, no, but they do exist. That's important to know, because the people in Mexico will speak like that if you ever visit.
Wow, wonderful. Achicopalarse, amazing, beautiful word. I think the last two words that we have just seen are beautiful, apapachar and achicopalarse. The next word,
Yeah, that's right.
The next word, Edson, we're going to is Guero. Yeah. A much shorter word than the previous two that we've seen. Guero. What does Guero mean?
If you see my hair, I have black hair. I believe you do as well,
Yeah.
right? But a person with yellow hair would be una persona güera. That means blonde.
Okay.
Güero means blonde, right? And that's the way we have in Mexico to say like family to somebody that is blonde. It comes from güero, that in Spain meant something like sick. So it's not a nice etymology, but people thought that when somebody was very pale, or his or her skin was very fair, that's because that person was sick.
Yeah.
So güero meant sick, but today it means blonde. So
Or
one of the
Mhm.
tell me,
or Rubio. The Castellano word
rubio,
would be Rubio, right?
exactly. In Spain, that could be rubio. In Mexico, it could be güero. And for example, we have a different word in the whole Latin America, because in Colombia they would say mono.
Ah,
That's but that's for another session, right? That will be another video. But
absolutely.
we in Mexico we say güero. So one of the examples that we have is la dueña del local, que siempre lo atendía, una mujer de abundante pelo güero y chino, de ojos claros, lo miró un poco desconcertada. So here we're reading the description of a woman with blonde curly hair, right? Pelo güero y chin. Blonde and curly. Siddharth, en India hay muchas personas güeras.
No, no muchas personas güeras, no.
En México un poquito.
Okay. Normally, the hair that we have, the natural color is dark, is
Mhm,
black. So yeah, or maybe brown, but not
mhm,
blonde is something that well, people do get their hair colored, but naturally
mhm.
we Indians are people with black hair.
Perfecto, perfecto. Bueno, pues when you see somebody blonde, you will say that that person is güero o güera.
Güero,
¿No?
okay, okay, wonderful. Now we move to the next word, and yeah, this is actually there are four words here. Edson: chamaco, huerco, escuincle, or morro. Now, I'm sure people who probably have watched Mexican shows or probably even some other Latin American shows, yeah, probably would know the word.
Yes.
But yeah, please let us know about these words. What do they mean?
Yes, these four words, chamaco, huerco, escuincle, morro, uh, four of them mean child, right? So it means like a little boy or like a little girl. And well, they are used all around the country because, as you know, Mexico is a very large country, and also depending on the city that you're located, they will use a different word. So chamaco is used a lot in the capital where I come from, and it means something or somebody that's growing, no? So I can say, estos chamacos solamente están jugando, ¿no? Como these children are only playing all day long, ¿no? Another word is huerco. That comes, that's a little bit funny, the origin of this word, because it actually means a little bit like devil, you know? I
Okay.
believe that's because when parents saw that their children did a lot of stuff, we're doing like up and down and breaking things, they say, oh, they're like little devils.
Mhm.
So they're like little puercos, right? And in the north of the country, we would use also the word morro, which means little. So if you're close to the border, people will use the word morro. I use a lot the words chamaco and escuincle. So, but as I told you once again, they belong to the family register, right? Those are words that we will use within the family, maybe not like in a formal writing. No?
Okay. And could you give me one example of escuincle or escuincle?
Escuincle, escuincla, for example, we have an example. Eres demasiado escuincla para darte cuenta de algunas cosas. You are too young to realize some stuff or something, ¿no? Por ejemplo, sí, dime.
So Edson, you've used escuincla. So this becomes an adjective for a girl. So it's like this sentence is for a girl.
Exactamente, exactamente. Por ejemplo, chamaco, chamaca, huerco, huerca, escuincle, escuincla, morro, morra.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, great. So the next word, Edson, that I have here is troca. Now, what is
Uh,
a troca?
as we said, Mexico is a very large country, so mostly in the north region where there's contact with the United States, people have adopted words from the US. So, does it sound like an English word to you? Maybe troca?
Well,
Does it sound
yeah, I think troca. I'm wondering whether it comes from maybe truck.
exactly truck, right? It means like a big vehicle, right? So people are in contact with the US, they use English, and they have made it into Spanish, right? So troca, it's a truck, right? So one example that we have here is la troca se ha descompuesto justo antes de que cruzáramos. So the truck broke just before we crossed the border, ¿no? Entonces, la troca, so there are a lot of words that follow this same structure in the North of Mexico. They use a lot of words that come from English.
Wonderful. So a camión or a camioneta in Castellano could be the troca in Mexican Spanish, right?
Exactamente. Or in North Mexican Spanish, North Mexican Spanish. Maybe in the center of the country we would say as well camión, but in the north they would say troca.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. The next word, as we come towards the close of this particular episode on Mexican words, is chanchullo. So, what is chanchullo, Edson?
Chanchullo, that means a fraud. When somebody does something that's not allowed, you know? But something does like what they call in English like monkey business. You know what I'm saying? So chanchullo means that somebody that's doing tricky stuff, right? One example of this is las primeras palabras de Lidia al iniciar el juego, jugamos, pero sin hacer chanchullo, right? So the first words of Lydia when the game started, we can play, but no tricks. Chanchullo es esto. So when you're playing with someone and that person is a little tricky, that person is doing chanchullo. You know what I mean? That's not very nice, but that's something that exists.
Now that you shared this particular example, I'm thinking of some of my friends, Edson, with whom I played some card games, and they always used to do some, or they were chanchullos. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So, well, it's also used, for example, like in other contexts when somebody, like in politics, also we can say that word, somebody that's doing something that's not allowed. But well, that's another conversation.
Wonderful. Yes, maybe we can do another episode on that. Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
And as we come towards the end of this particular episode on Mexican words, the last one of the day is orale.
Órale.
What is orale?
Órale is a word that you can use for everything, actually. It has no translation, right? But it means come on, let's go, let's do it, right? So it can show that you are motivating somebody to do something, or that you are accepting something, or that you are surprised by something, right? So if you propose me to go, I don't know, take a coffee and together, you tell me, Edson, ¿quieres un café? Órale, that means like affirmation. But also, if, for example, you are at work and you are a little bit lazy, you're not working a lot, I can tell you, órale, no? Like, let's go, let's get to work, no? Or maybe if I'm walking down the street and I see a very big house with very beautiful colors, I can say, órale, qué chida casa, no? So it means a lot of things. It's an expression. It has no translation, right? But well, some of the examples that we have is, like I told you, órale a trabajar. Come on, let's get to work. No. The second one would be, vamos por unos tacos. Órale. Do you want some tacos? Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Or sacaste 10. Órale. Like you got an A in your exam. Wow, great. You see, it works for a lot of stuff. I don't know, do you have a word like that in English or in an Indian language?
Well, I I can think of one word that is in Hindi, which I can say is "badia." Yeah, don't know whether it can probably transmit and the correct translation, but it's like it's a word which we say for wow. Yeah, I'll have to think of some words. If you are watching this video and you have some better word in Hindi or even in English, please do put it on the comments, yeah, section, and we'd love to watch your
That'll be
comments.
great.
So I
That'll
think
be great.
orale belongs to that category of words, Edson, that I just find absolutely amazing because words which do not necessarily have translation into another language, but they have that essence of an occasion or a particular place and time in which you use these words, but they just don't have any translation. But that's
That's it.
fascinating. That's the most fascinating aspect of any language.
That's it. Yeah. So it depends on the context, and it has no translation, but it depends also on the feeling that we have when we say those words, right? Because orale could be like nice, like orale, or it could be like orale, let's go, right? It could be also a little bit rude. It depends on the context. No?
So it depends on the tone as well, right?
Exactly. That's it.
Okay, great, wonderful. So I hope you have had a wonderful time listening to Edson's wonderful choice of Mexican words. I have enjoyed, and I'm sure that you would have also enjoyed watching this. We're going to come up with another episode with Edson on some typical expressions from Mexico. So to watch this space out for some more interesting videos. Till then, ciao.
Hasta luego, español por dentro.